All right, folks, hold tight. We'll give it about one more minute and we'll kick off today's session Beyond Trade, brought to you by the Blockchain Supply Chain Association. 30 seconds to go, more or less, and we'll kick the session off. Thanks. So I just decided that was about 30 seconds later. Hey, folks, welcome to today's session. Welcome to the Blockchain Supply Chain Association, our latest webinar brought to you by our good friends in Europe. Today, Andrea and Achille. My name is Eric Valiquette. I'm the CEO of the association. Quickly about us, we are a industry association. We bring together both people and ideas. And we do three things at the association. We do advocacy, so we work for you with policymakers, be it your governments, national or local, to understand their priorities and bring them your priorities. We also work actively on developing standards with multiple national bodies and ISO on the international level. We are also very much about collaboration. So bringing you the resources that you need, both from a blockchain or supply chain standard or for a perspective, sorry. We help you work on your projects if you want us to. And of course, education, sessions like this, the various workshops. We've even built a course for logistics and supply chain professionals to better understand blockchain through our good partners at CITT. A bit about our ecosystem. We are about bringing together the industry, help them mobilize around blockchain and around emerging technology. So again, our ecosystem consists of, again, those policymakers, governments, ISO, GS1, you name it, people who actually do stuff from industry, manufacturers, importers, and exporters. Of course, the learning people, right? Other association, we bring you blockchain specific content and various universities around the world. Logistics people who move stuff around, stuff like our clothes and our computers and our phones on a daily basis. Trade finance, because all that stuff that you need to move around the world, you need to pay for. So we need those banks and those insurance companies, and of course, technology. So that's a bit about us, our ecosystem. We started here in Canada back in 2019, and now we have several chapters, including the one in Europe, 2 in South America, North Africa, India, Australia, New Zealand in the works, a few others. So with that, I will now hand it over to our good friend Andrea in Italy, so that he can introduce our very special guests.
Thanks, Eric, by the way, and it's some kind of strange today.
You are on mute, sir.
I'm on mute.
Can you hear me? That. I can.
Perfect. So sorry, I was saying that it's some kind of strange because Achille and I, we're in the same country, although some miles separate us. It is an honor for me today to have him here in the speech. You see, we've been talking a lot recently, Achille and I, good friends. So we decided to join forces in a special meeting. As Rick said, we are a blockchain supply chain association, but we're not bound to blockchain only. We want to explore what's going on in other technology as well, in machine learning, artificial intelligence, IoTs, during our pathway. And recently we've been focusing a lot on topics that are on everybody's lips recently. Sustainability has been the red thread through all of the year, more or less. And also those follow us in our activity in the Hyperledger supply chain and trade finance sake. So Achille and myself, we caught up. I invited him to join us today and I had a speech. And in particular, I told Achille, let's please focus on your current job. on ESG in particular. So Accepted, he is with us today. It's a great pleasure to have him. So I don't want to bore you too much, and I leave the stage to him. Please, Aquila, step in, take the word, and stage is yours. We are eager to listen to you and to your insights.
Andrea, thank you. Thank you very much. I want to, first of all, welcome you to this section. It is a privilege for me and an honor to speak to you. With Andrea, we have, chosen to give you a bit of a background on TradeStream, why we have founded this company, and why the company, what was the main goal. And then obviously, ESG is another discussion that I want to raise during this call, not only because it's a hot issue that everybody talks about, but because I believe personally that ESG is a matter that everybody has to care in order to run any business in any any corner of the world, in a proper manner, if we want to live in peace in this globe. Before I move to the deck, a couple of housekeeping. One, raise your hand. Raise the questions anytime you want. Stop me. I hope that Andrea may help me, or Eric, in identifying the questions that you will be raising, because I will speak, and frankly I don't know if I will be able also to realize that someone is asking me something.
No worries, Aquila. We'll be following up. You see with questions, so as soon as somebody picks up, we'll know the time.
Second point, in case I become boring, please tell me. May happen, and frankly, this is something that I would like to avoid. And the third point is that no matter how you will welcome my presentation, maybe one important point is that I will try to at the end of the sections to share with you some questions that everybody, or all of us, has to ask ourselves when we run a business, to become a little bit more practical than regarding the topic of ESG that sometimes I feel listening what my counterparts say become more philosophy than practical terms. And I believe that ESG is a practical matter. I will try and see whether I'm able to share my deck with you. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can. Perfect.
Good. Before I start with TradeStream, let me give you a bit of a background of my background professionally. I've been working for almost, 44 years. I'm 65. And maybe the most, important and formative experience I had was in a large American group in banking, and covering apical positions in three main different areas. One in corporate investment banking, particularly with what in those days was called the post-trading activities, which in those days encompassed security services, cash management, and obviously trade. Then I moved to consumer business, heading the franchise over there where I was. And then I ended up my professional career in this banking, conglomerate as a division head for wealth management. More recently, maybe 7 years ago at this point, almost 7 years ago, I founded together with other two friends TradeStream. And the reasons why this has happened was just because a few years before the foundation, I was interviewed by people in banking, and particularly with strange combinations by global head of trades. And in each and every interview I had with these super seniors people, I was listening that they were having same problems I was having when I was running trade as a part of the business I was covering in those days, about 10 years before. And I was stupefied by the fact that, people in trade had in those days, therefore, after literally 10 years after I had left that business, same problems, i.e. That there were less and less talent that were able to manage that business, i.e. people that were reading, understanding was what a letter of credit or a document related to export or import was. The fact that customers were very often unhappy with these services because, paper was sometimes missed, and the bank was not able to prove that what was done properly in order to protect the customer's interests. And obviously this has triggered legal fees or maybe customers' unhappiness. And the third point that was much less felt during my days in trade was compliance. And, compliance is a moving target, is becoming a more and more difficult to manage business. And that was, the moment when realizing that after 10 years, nothing has happened, or maybe things were in fact, deteriorating rather than improving. I started thinking on whether leveraging on the technology that in those days was at the early stage, we could do something that could alleviate the pain of the banks. That was the moment when, I met with these other two friends, and we started thinking on how we could digitalize, all the process rather than having someone that manually, processing through his or her knowledge of the business, finding a way that a machine could, process the same. The first troubles that we had to face was that the formats of a trade documentation are not the same. And also the way the layouts of each and every document that, any operator has to read are not the same. So any issuer does decide where to put the dates, where to put the signatures, where to put the amount, where to put the number of goods, etc., etc. And therefore, rather than using existing OCR, that stands for optical computer recognition devices, we decided just to try ourselves to find a way to have a more agile and usable, OCR that could, help us in understanding and in reading various formats and various, layouts that every issuer in this business was using. The second point that we focused on was the so-called UCP rules 600. For those who are new to this business, UCP rules are like, the Bible for this business, i.e. that everybody who does import or export, no matter where, has to comply with these rules. But, when then you move to a practical, examples or practical, export-import, you realize that various countries have interpreted the rules or has imposed to the rules, I mean, different, practice. And therefore, the 600, in fact, were becoming, several, attributes that have to be understood by human being and therefore translated in good practice in order to achieve the goal to move, one good from one country to the other. And in order to fix this or to address this issue and fix it, we had to put together coders that were able to put together, in digital language, what this meant from a trade point of view, and expert of trades that could explain to the coder what this meant from a trade point of view. The third point that we had started thinking was how to create a favorable environment in order to have compliance addressed in each and every transactions that we were processing. And when we say compliance, we did not mean only the various rules the supranational institute or bodies had issues on time to time, but also the internal policies that each and every institute may have, no matter whether corporates or banks, in order to protect their own franchise. While we were creating this environment, what the natural evolvement was whether we could use the artificial intelligence in order to facilitate the learning of our platform. That was the name that were unknown to most of us. Our platform that was encapsulated all these informations, and that was maybe the turning point of TradeStream, when we could realize that the artificial intelligence could help in maintaining a consistent and improving way for us to read and interpret the document that we were processing. That was the turning point that made our venture from a possible solutions to a real solution to the sector, to the industry. So what we have achieved in terms of processing, in the old days and still today, for those who are not using any other tool which is not digital, the average time to process from 0 to 100, so from A to Z, a letter of credit was about 5 days. 5 days meant 5 working days of a body that could, from the reading of from the acceptance of the document to the reading of the document, interpretation of the rules, fulfillment of compliance, and confirmation that that document was, ticking all the box, was processable and approvable. Nowadays, we are able to provide in 25 minutes the same questions. So meaning that we have compressed in 25 minutes the 5 days. This has triggered to our clients 3 major benefits. First of all, the use of their capital. 2, risk management is much better used for the simple reasons that they know immediately whether that document may be processed or not. And thirdly, and more importantly, customer is definitely much happier because he may have an answer on that particular document in a much more rapid way. The fourth point that we have seen coming is that the average value of the letter of credit that in the past was processed, it's now much lower. It's lower because the cost associated to the processing is much lower. As such, we have made our customers' book much more secure, because those letter of credit that were refused to be processed are now processed because the unit cost to processing is much less. And more importantly, the customer has increased his, security in selling his own or exporting his own good just because of that. The second feature that we have introduced in the market is a unique checking engine that is obviously fully trade compliant. What this means, I mentioned before that we have our reference point is the UCP 600 rules. We have exploited UCP rules in over 350,000 potential practices, meaning that our platform today is able to interpret in a 350 times different ways the same 600 rules, and you can appreciate that no human being may do that. That definitely is one of our competitive advantage that we have against our competitors. But more importantly, and this is very important to us, it alleviates the potential risk to our customers to process things that are not able to be, that should not be processed just because of the inability to meet the UCP rules requirements. The AI has given us also the ability to create a positive, cycle by having more document to be processed. We have our machine that continuously learn, way to process. As such, all customers that come to our books are facilitated in terms of speediness in processing, richness of the document processing, and more importantly, decrease their risk in processing document from day one. Again, if there are questions, please raise your hand. This slide resumes in a way what I was saying before. So we have OCR now is enriched by 300 data points, i.e. that our document reading, our OCR is able to find 300 different points in each document we have. The permutation of our interpretation of permutation means interpretations of the rules is over 350,000 permutations, and actually this the growth of this number is plateauing at this point, because we believe that with 400,000 permutation, we will basically cover all the possible practices and interpretations of the rules based on the different cross of activity between one country to the other and different countries with one country. Just to give you an example, if I have to export a glass from Italy to India, obviously the same rule applied in Italy to Pakistan, but the Pakistan authorities may have a different way to accept that particular glass, as much as India may have a very different say way to receive or to accept from Chinese authorities. So those creates a 3 different permutation to the same rule. And the third innovative or innovations that we have start chasing after 2 years of activity was to convert our platform into an ecosystem. What is behind the idea of becoming an ecosystem? We realized that there was no way for us to be the best provider in this business by doing all the functions in a proprietary manner. For 2 main reasons. First of all, because you cannot be the best in each field where you are active, and more importantly, because we realized that there were a lot of good providers that were doing much better work in activities that were, were not part of the core business that we were in, but were absolutely, able to make our offering much more agile, much more advanced, and advantageous for our customers. So, what we have, the way we have created our ecosystem is creating APIs layers, which allows us just to connect online real time with any type of providers that make our offering more complete, more seamless, and more importantly, more practical for our customers in any angle of the business processing and risk management control of this business. Last step that we have undertaken in order to enrich our offering was create a partnership with GCX, which is a leading South African company that active in the ESG consultancy, and the objective, the scope of this relationship that has been announced a few weeks ago, aims to give confidence to our customers that what they are doing are ESG compliant, and more importantly, that we will be able, through our friends GCX, give them the measurement on how they are good in ESG matters. So, the collaboration is very much focused on this, and we have welcomed and appreciated the ability of ESG GCX to be able to assess ESG informations into the transaction, which is not easy to be found at this time. In addition to that, just for your information, our system allows our customers to identify where the vessel is located, obviously based on the fact that the transponder has to be open. And the reasons why we wanted to give this feature to our customers is not for fancy things, just to again strengthen their ability to control what they have committed. You may or may not know, but in documents often, there is the name of the vessel and also the name of the captain, but most of the time, our customers go blind on whether the vessel exists, on whether the captain exists, and more importantly, they commit, particularly on insurance policies, they commit that those that particular vessel will follow a certain route. In the past, and still for those one who are not using our, say, solution, for them it's impossible to check or to track the vessel route. In this case, and thanks to our system, we are able to provide this service that is provided by, offered by, say, Lloyd's Marine, but is encapsulated in our system through the concept of of ecosystem through APIs. So our customers within their own screen, they can check also if this is possible or not. Okay. Diving a bit more on the ESG capabilities, why ESG is such an important thing? First of all, because more and more investors and financiers who does finance business are more interested to know more, to know if the business they are financing or they are investing in is ESG compliance. I will discuss a little bit more in details this matter, but the reasons why ESG has become such a hot issue, notwithstanding, I mean, the ESG concept started up in my personal opinion in early 60s, and I will tell you more in the second part of the section, is just because, I mean, investors and financiers, in order to protect their reputations in terms of investments versus their own clients, have put more attention on ESG matters. Again, compliance, which is a sort of a related matter triggered by ESG capabilities, is a sort of moving target. Moving meaning that the sophistication in interpreting the compliance or related matters nowadays are more and more sophisticated. Every day becomes a little bit more refined. Every day becomes more, granular in understanding or interpreting what this means. And obviously, the more granular becomes, the more those one who have to assure that the compliance is met are having headaches in order to achieve the goal to be compliant. And then obviously performance, one of the tricky points of ESG is finding a way to measure on whether you are or you are not ESG compliant. And believe me, guys, I mean, it is, in my opinion, very difficult to find, a way that in a transparency manner may agree on what are the real indicators for that particular sector or industry that make, the activity ESG compliance or not. So this to say what? To say that, ESG is definitely a focal point for most of us in any business, any sector, no matter whether you are servicing or producing. And more importantly, notwithstanding is an old, topic that people discuss, is moving from a more philosophical, political, political topic into a more practical one. And we will see a lot of developments about, this particular matter. With our friends at GCX, we have tried to give you an idea on what ESG today represents. We are discussing, you can hear from many parts of the responsible investments, which obviously has a financial impact. But in our opinion, ESG is human rights, is climate risk, is cybersecurity, is pollution, is energy, is water, is health, is safety, is employee wellness, etc., etc. So, if we want to say evolve in understanding on whether we are ESG or not ESG compliant, it is nice that we start from something like financials, but then we have to start, drilling down the matter, moving to much more, say, fundamental values that, govern or should govern our world. I will stop now before I start the second section, knowing whether there are some questions for me.
There are actually no questions in the chat. Oh, let me see.
Meaning that all people has gone to sleep, right?
I haven't, by the way. By the way, Achille, just to let you know, the guys from the GCX are very good friends of ours. Late in May this year, we had Kevin James talking about what's going on in Africa. And it was very informative to talk with him on a larger meeting, a large framework. Isn't it very interesting, a massive shift towards these topics in Africa, but also elsewhere. It's a global movement that is in place indeed. So I encourage people attending this meeting to make questions to Achille. This is a quite unique chance.
Andrea, can you see the Q&A section?
I can, yes.
Okay. Can you see whether there are some questions? Otherwise, I will continue.
Hang on. No, there are no questions. I think you can go ahead with this.
Okay.
I see a few comments that the chat is disabled.
It's not disabled, actually.
Yeah, I can see it. So we have a question that just came in. Andrea, you want to check it out?
Yeah, sure.
I will read it for you, by the way, Achille. It comes from Lena Zotkin. What's the basis for ESG data assessment within TradeStream? Given current lack of standardization, some specific framework existing on individual criteria determined by a company?
Good question. That's actually one of the points. The main point I'm referring to is that obviously the first step is to find someone, a third party. Let me rephrase it. There is no way for a company to create its own, say, scorecard and be complacent with the fact that that scorecard fulfills the ESG ability. So in order to be serious about this matter, you have to have a third party that comes to you and tells if you are compliant or not to ESG matters. We did that. So we are creating a model which allows us to tick the box and check in every actions we do on whether we are ESG or not. It is obviously different, in my opinion. This analysis is not going to be say consistent from one sector to the other. I mean, companies who are in oil are not comparable with say company who are in the toy business, or company who are into say weapon and say weapon production, just as a general terms, cannot be say compared with the cocoa, right? Not because cocoa ESG, just because the production in itself has a very, very, very different ways to say to be done. As such, the criterias and the assessment, and therefore the KPIs related to the ESG, if you are ESG compliant or not, has to be say defined based on the sector. In order to be more practical, in my personal opinion, you are more say you are in a good position to be ESG compliant if you adopt a rather you move from a linear to a circular economy. So the less you waste, the more you are compliant. The less you are, say, linked to financial terms, i.e., if you measure your performance based on the financial results that you are having, and you are not considering, or you are not crossing that, say, pillar and move to people wellness, social responsibility, wasting in terms of where your products are gonna, how they are using, and how your package or your packaging will be used, you are not ESG. If you focus only on financial terms, you're not ESG. And maybe another point is, if the business model that we are having is changing, and the focus that you have is on how to make this sustainable for the say environment where you are in, the more you are sophisticated in trying to make all your phases of productions, all your phases of services more gentle with the environment, the more you are ESG. At this moment, we are not there. TraceReam is not there. But we believe that we are in a much better position than 1 year ago, when these discussions were just made inside ourselves, but there was nobody who could measure whether we are or we are not. I don't know if I answered to the question.
Yeah, thanks, Achille. By the way, there is a new question from Deborah Castro.
Okay.
She said, how long did it take for your company to realize all this challenging and overcoming them?
How long?
How long? Yeah.
We will be starting rolling the first KPIs in the next few days. But this is not going to be the end of the journey. It's just the beginning of the journey. What I'm trying to say, not to sound again philosophical, I believe that this is a typical matter that the more you know, the less you know. The more you know, the more you drill, the more you make people within our company culture and within their own behavior, and the more we widen the understanding on what we do and what this reflects to the environment, the more we will have a more precise KPIs in order to protect ourselves and the environment. So I don't think that we are going to finish our journey in the next 1 or 2 years. I think that this is a eternal, if I may say, journey, just because the more we go, the more we know, the more we know, the less we know. Did I answer?
I have a double questions that say myself, and I would love to have your take on why is ESG so important in trade, and what's your take on the future developments for ESG and trade in particular in this connection between two topics?
It is an easy, a difficult question, Andrea, and thank you for raising this. Human being, as soon as start thinking on ESG, I could answer very easily. If you go digital, you don't use paper. If you don't use paper, meaning that you are deforesting much less. You're not using pulp as such. I mean, this is one. In these days, when what happens? You move a block of paper through what? Very likely cars or people that move from one center to the other, meaning that you pollute the environment by using fossil driven or vehicles. Otherwise, I mean, what you do, then you move, again, document from one continent to another, which means that you're using, again, you are polluting, say, the environment. By using digital, you don't need that. What I did not mention was that I am one of the founders of the so-called Terra committee within ITFA. ITFA is an association of trade and forfeiting, so international trade and forfeiting. Within this, with my good friend Andre Casterman, we have created, and Sean Edwards, we have created Terra. Terra is a body that has one goal, creating the premises to make more knowledgeable global governments with regards to the say digital, the use or the lack of discrimination or avoiding discrimination between, avoiding discrimination of physical document versus digital document. You may have heard in the last few weeks that the UK government has presented the law to the Parliament in order to have the use of digital, say, document acceptable by law, not replacing but acceptable versus the physical document. This is a way to become ESG. Because if you do not protect the possibility if you do not protect the environment, but also give the operator the say chance to have a legally binding document, when therefore being in a controlled and legally, say, acceptable environment, you are not giving a good service to your customer. This is not a TradeStream business. This is not something that I have done together with Andre for TradeStream. I have done as a social responsibility. You know, if you promote a digital transformation, but do not try and influence, you know, the government in order to have laws that accept legally binding document in a digital form, you're not doing your job. So that is what you know, I can answer. I don't know if clearly to why say digital transformation may impact in terms of ESG to trade. And again, this does not mean that if you move to digital, you are ESG compliant, because then what we will be we will need to say measure is, first of all, that is a good news that now paper is not used any longer. It is also good news that digital documents are or will be acceptable by law and therefore not discriminated versus the physical. But then what we have to understand is how we can decrease the say consumption of energy, no matter whether that comes from fossil or non-fossil, say, sources, in order to maintain the big data center that you know the digitalization is generating. You know, cloud is something that anyway is somewhere stored. And these places where you know the cloud is stored, so the data of clouds are stored, you know, are definitely energy consumption or consumers. So we have to take that piece one day or another.
That's great stuff, Aquila. By the way, you mentioned digital transformation. When you talk about ITFA, you talk about BAFT, you talk about all these entities worldwide that foster digitalization in trade. If you talk about necessarily what's going on at a higher level with the UN, United Nations, and you know what I'm referring to, the Untitled and Lisa. We discussed this briefly recently when we guessed the speech by Chris Southwell and David Bennell, one of the fathers of the URDTT. How can these model-owned electronic transferable records, which strictly connects to what we were talking earlier, can accelerate, in your opinion, digitalization? Because even in this case, we're talking about digitalization. We don't have to forget that.
I don't know if actually understood the questions well. Are you telling me how long it's going to take in order to have laws digital solutions?
More how this, not how long. We know that it's going to take yet time to maybe the approval of the bill in UK, the recent approval of the bill can give a boost to this. But how Melissa can help facilitate the shift towards paper-based trade to a digital one?
Andrea, I must admit that your voice comes scattered a bit, but if I can interpret what you said, and by the way, can you hear me? I mean, does my voice come clear?
I'm experiencing some troubles here in the place where I am.
No, please. You know, my view on this matter. Again, if the matter is digital, say, model law that you know handle the transferable record, what is the issue there? You know, the issue is that you know government and geographies have shown a different sensitivity towards this point. And the various sensitivities are, say, multi-causal, meaning that maybe because, I mean, those countries are not export or import oriented, or because, you know, the political parties running the government believe that, you know, priorities for that government is are others than you know pushing on digital you know accepting digital document. My personal view is that you know these people and UK government again is a very best practice has not realized how you know making possible the use of digital document may say favorite the evolvement and the development of that particular economy. The UK study run by Corrales has shown huge numbers that the economy in UK could benefit just say having laws that discipline the use of the digital document and acceptance of them. And I'm pretty sure that in the entire European Union, if this, say, model law would be implemented based on the European law, or the European Union would benefit. It doesn't come as a surprise to me that G7 last year has put the digitalization, the passing laws that say regulate the digital use of, the use of digital document has been put in the agenda of the G7. Just because, I mean, it has been recognized that the use of the digital, solutions would benefit the entire economies of the G7. So how long this is going to take, I don't know. I hope much shorter than it has been, say, the experience so far. Again, I'm trying to do my best in Italy in order to get this done. Not easy. I know that Germany is advanced. France is doing well. It is not surprising to me that the two, say, geographies that have implemented this impeccably and faster is Singapore and the Gulf, particularly the Abu Dhabi, say, Emirates. So I don't know if I answered to your question, Andrea.
Perfectly, Achille, you did perfectly. And by the way, Italian, both of us, we can only try to do our best in order to raise awareness and try to push introduction of the model law within our, let's say, legal infrastructure. There's one last question from our friend Whit Carpenter. He's asking, are there any connections with the European Conference of Postal and Telecommunication Administration? I've never heard about this, honestly.
No, me too.
That's real news. I mean, it's something new. So there's no, actually, I'm sorry, Brett, but there's no answer to your question. This is with both of us, we're newbie into this.
Thank you, Brett. By the way, Andrea, I'm realizing that we are approaching the hour, right?
So if there is any question, any further question, Eric, would you step in?
Well, hey, folks, appreciate you spending some time of your day with us today. By the way, Achille, I love this slide. I'm going to steal it with impunity. I kid you, but no, I absolutely love that. It's straight to the point. Yeah, we have some financial responsibilities. That's why we do business. But there's so much more. So again, I love this slide. And thank you very much for talking with us today. We will to answer a few of your questions. We will be sharing these slides with you, as well as a link to the recording to today's session. Thank you very much. I know I had a few folks emailing me on the side here that will have questions, but had to move on to other responsibilities. So Achille might send you some offline questions to answer later on. Again, thank you very much for speaking with us today. Great work. Continue. Yes, our job is to support these initiatives, right? Not just talk about it, but to support them and move them forward. That's a bit of what we do at the association. So again, thank you, everyone. We are on top of the hour. We will close this session for today and look forward to seeing you on the next one. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone.
Again, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Achille, it was nice to see you.